presentation. I said it's 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m. for me here in it's 9 a.m. for me here in Madison, Wisconsin, but I know that you're all spread across the world. So, but it's really good that we are able to gather here at PSSC. So yeah, thank you for coming. This session is on uncertainty management and stochastic optimization. It's the second session on this topic. My name is Line Roald, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, where I do research on electric power systems and particularly on stochastic optimization of such systems. We have a really nice lineup of speakers here. What I'm going to do, I mean, you each have 20 minutes time for your presentations. I think most of you have prepared presentations around 15 minutes. And so then we will have some time for questions after that. I will give you a little sign when it gets time to wrap up around the 16-minute mark, if you haven't already concluded by then. Yes, for all attendees, you should have access to the chat. So you can post questions there, or you can post questions in the Q&A. And I will be monitoring these questions to make sure that we are, that I can read them out to the speakers as the session is proceeding. All right. So with that, I would like to welcome our first speaker. So this is Zhai. So Dr. Zhai received his PhD degree in complex systems and control from the Institute of Systems and Science at the Chinese Academy of Sciences in Beijing, China in June 2013. From July 2013 to August 2015, he was a postdoctoral fellow with the University of Bristol in Bristol, UK. Since November 2019, he's been with the School of Automation at the China University of Geosciences in Wuhan, China. His current research interests include cooperative control of multi-agent systems, power system stability and control, social motor coordination, and evolutionary game theory. So, Chao, I invite you to share your screen, and then we will get ready to go with your presentation. Hello, Chao, we cannot, I'm not sure, can we hear you still? This worked just a moment ago. Oh, yeah.
No, I think I can start my presentation.
Yes, okay, perfect. Yeah, it would be great if you can start your presentation. Okay, take it away. Zhao, we cannot hear you. Hello? Hello, Chao? Chao? Okay, excuse me, is anyone else there? I mean, you can hear Chao?
Oh, we don't hear Chao. Chao, we don't hear.
Chao, we cannot hear you. Okay, I'm not sure he is hearing us either.
If you have a video, probably it's better to play that.
Yeah, we will do that. Okay. So I'm just Daniela, do you know how to stop sharing for someone? All right. Okay, so Chao, we cannot hear when you are speaking. So we are going to just play your video instead, okay? So then I would like to just ask the host to play the video so that we are sure that we are able to proceed here.
Good afternoon, everyone. In this presentation, I will talk about the protection of power systems against the cascading failure, and we provide a robust optimization approach to deal with the uncertainty in power system cascades. Now we are looking at our outline. First off, I'm talking about the research background and motivation. Then I will introduce a cascading failure model based on Markov chain. Next, we propose a robust optimization formulation for protecting power systems against blackout. Our approach is able to allow for multiple cascading failure paths simultaneously. Some simulation results will be shown to demonstrate the effectiveness of our approach. Finally, I will draw a conclusion and discuss the future work. This figure has shown the major blackouts in the world, including US-Canada blackouts in 2003, India blackout in 2012, Italy blackout in 2003, and Brazil blackout in 1999. In terms of people affected, India blackout is the largest one. And if you look at the economic losses, the US-Canada blackout has caused the worst disruptions. According to technical reports on power system blackouts, the blackouts normally go through 5 stages: precondition, initiation event, cascading event, and final state restoration. We want to design effective protection schemes and protect power system against blackouts at the stage of cascading event. Here the difficulty is that due to the power system uncertainty, there are multiple possible cascading failure paths, and we don't know which path is the real one. So we need to design a robust approach for protecting power systems against the multiple cascading failure paths simultaneously. Actually, our final goal is to develop a systematic approach to achieve a resilient power system, and we will make it through 3 steps. In the first step, we will identify the disruptive contingency that causes the worst-case cascading failure. In the second step, we develop the protection schemes to prevent this cascading blackout. In the third step, we will design the recovery strategy so that the power system can come back to normal state as soon as possible. Now we focus on the second step. In order to deal with the uncertainty in power systems, we develop a Markov chain model to predict the evolution of power system cascades. Here x0 denotes the initial probability distribution over the states of power systems, and it can be provided by the identification algorithm of branch outage. P is the transition matrix, and its elements are related to overloads, hidden failure, and contingencies. This figure shows the cascading failure paths of power systems, and the yellow ones represent the possible paths predicted by our Markov chain model, and solid yellow one indicates the actual cascading failure path. Because we don't know the actual path in advance, we will have to design a protection scheme that is able to handle all the possible cascading failure paths. Also, we introduce an indicator function to solve the problem of dimensionality, because when the size of power system increases, the dimension of mixed P is becoming extremely large. Now we present the robust optimization formulation of power system protection. For the objective function, we want to minimize the changes of injection power on buses. Here the set D epsilon includes the possible power system states at a given cascading step. This is a robust optimization problem because we consider multiple states instead of only one power system state. Actually, the above robust optimization problem is equivalent to a convex optimization problem by treating each cascading failure path as a convex set. The geometric interpretation of the above optimization problem is to project a point onto an intersection of several convex sets, as shown in this figure. We can also estimate the probability that the power system cascades can be terminated by using our approach. By using the dicastral algorithm, we can solve the above robust optimization problem. This table shows the procedure of solving the problem. Here, n is the number of iterations. The green part is the initial deviation. and the yellow part indicates the iteration deviation. After a sequence of projections and corrections, we can finally obtain the projection point in the intersection of several complex sets. This means we can find a protection scheme that is able to terminate several cascading field paths simultaneously. We did some simulations on HUE 118 bar systems to validate our approach and specify the probabilities due to contingencies, hidden failure, and overloads. By severing branch 8 or branch 4 with a certain probability, we identified two most probable cascading failure paths, and our protection scheme succeeds in terminating both paths in the third cascading failure step, with a probability 0.92 at least. The up panel in this figure shows the changes of injected power on buses to terminate the cascades, and the lower one shows the convergence of the numerical solver in 80 iterations. Now we make a conclusion. We propose a Markov chain model to deal with the uncertainty in power system cascades. And we develop a robust optimization formulation to terminate the cascades. We also design a numerical solver based on the Dichotomous algorithm to solve the robust optimization problem. In the next step, we will consider more practical protection schemes, such as adapting protective relays to the situation and emergency voltage control, and calibrate the Markov chain model using the real data of power system cascades. That's all. Thank you. Hi, hello.
Hello, hey Chao.
Can you hear me? I think it's my microphone problem.
I see.
Yeah.
So we could hear, we could hear the presentation as the video. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that before we go to the questions? Or
No.
okay, yeah. So then I would like to ask in the audience if there are any questions around for Chao. So there's a question here in the chat from Keith Bell. Sorry, I didn't catch what the protection scheme was in the example that you showed that succeeded in making the system more resilient. Could you briefly describe that protection scheme, please?
You mean the scheme? I use the load shedding and generating tripping scheme to protect the power system. Because we want to avoid the power flow loads on the branch, so that the cascading failure, cascading outages can be terminated.
Okay, so you're trying to determine control actions that will reduce the overload on branches.
Exactly.
Okay, so cool. Okay, so there is a second question from Dan Molton. The first question, so actually there are two questions from Dan. How do you model the generators and loads responses to the failures of various components? For instance, what if the system splits into islands? Does your approach allow these islands to operate by shedding load or generation?
Yes, actually, because we have the cascading failure model, in the cascading failure model, you can consider the system islanding, because the cascading failure model is independent of our protection scheme, our robust optimization approach. So you can use different methods to model to describe the islanding problem in our model in the cascading failure model.
I see. So you're essentially modeling inside the model itself. You will model that there is the splitting of the system, and then you will determine the control actions based on the fact that that splitting happened. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a follow-up question also from Keith Bell. So what you presented was a kind of load shedding scheme. How was it determined how much load to shed?
You know, there is a robust optimization problem in my optimization problem. We want to minimize the changes of loads to prevent the path flow overloads on branches. Yeah, by solving the optimization problem, you know how much loads you need to shed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's determined by the optimization problem. So essentially, it sounds like you have a very flexible model because you are solving this optimization problem after every cascade, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have a follow-up question for that. So what is the timeline for solving that problem? How fast are you able to solve this corrective emergency control problem in your method?
Actually, that's a good question. Because it depends on how many iterations you set in the algorithm, and I think because we want to do it, we want to implement our algorithm online in real time. We need a more efficient solver to deal with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I think that's
because in our simulation we solve it offline, but if we want to apply it in practice, we need to solve it online. We need a more powerful powerful computing resources.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's yeah. I would be interested in hearing. We can discuss this maybe more also offline at some point. So there's one more question for you from Patrick Panziatisi, so Patrick is asking, there are more and more closed controls that are installed in the system, which becomes a cyber physical system, and we have to assess the risk of cascading failures, taking into account these controls, including failure of the cyber layer. Do you think your method could be extended to handle this? So essentially handling cyber failures.
The failure in the cyber layer, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the failure in the cyber layer will indirectly lead to the failure in physical layer. Because our model can predict describe the failure in physical layer. I think it's feasible. It's feasible to allow for the failure in cyber layer indirectly.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So yeah, and then okay, so there's a follow-up question from Keith. I think maybe we kind of so he's asking, you used an OPF solution to decide how much load to shed. How might such an approach be used in practice? But I think you maybe already covered this. So I had one more question for you, and maybe we can we can do this just quickly. So how did you determine the probability? The probabilities that you use in your model, because you had this model that is modeling the probability, including the hidden failures. And you mentioned in your future work that getting better estimates of those probabilities would be an interesting sort of future direction. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Sorry, you mean what probability?
So I thought that you were talking about the probability that things will fail, and that you have the Markov chain model where you have the probabilities, no?
Yes, I have a probability for the power system states. because essentially the Markov chain model can predict the evolution of cascading failure and can compute the probability for the power system states at a certain cascading steps, and we will choose the power system states with a high probability, and for this states we will design our protecting schemes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But
okay.
you know here the key problem here is that if the network size is quite large, the power system states is also huge. It's a dimensionality problem, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I want to solve is what I want to solve is to reduce the dimensionality of the states we concern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chao. So I think that's great. I think we are ready to go then to the next speaker. I mean, we're running we're getting to the time for that. So thank you very much for your presentation. And then I would ask Christina to, as the next one, to bring up your presentation onto the screen here.
Okay.